Hi everyone. I'm here today to show you a game that I enjoy called I don't know how that's supposed to be pronounced. It looks like KOHCTPYKTOP. It's actually meant to say constructor, except written in I guess that's supposed to be the transliteration of constructor into Cyrillic letters. So yeah, it's constructor, engineer of the people, but you can just say KOHCTPYKTOP if you prefer. I'd like to just highlight right off the top this Cyrillic sort of pseudo transliteration highlights a great sort of cultural awareness that goes into this game. This is one of a series of great games for engineers made by Zachtronics Industries. You can see their link at the bottom. I'll put a link to their site in the description for this video as well. But even though the games are made for engineers, they're actually very well done, and they have an artistic awareness as well. There's also music. There's a nice kind of symphonic sort of classical music track that accompanies this game. I've turned it off because the game has absolutely no sound effects. It's just the music, so just so that my voice is a little more audible, I've turned it off for this video. But I recommend playing the game with the music, because the music is pretty good, although it's just one track, so it may get repetitive after a while. Anyway, whoops. That's what you get when you win the game. Sorry, I hid that quickly because I don't want to give away too many secrets. But yeah, so I've already gone through all these. Well, I cheated and just looked up all the solutions, but oh well. Let's see. I'll skip the first puzzle just because the game actually comes with a pretty good in-game tutorial video. For those who aren't sure how to play it, it actually shows you how to solve the first puzzle. So I'll skip that one because you can just figure that one out on your own. I'll go ahead and do the second puzzle, which is a dual two-input AND gate. So this is pretty simple. Basically, the goal of the program, or goal of the game, is you are a electrical engineer and you design chips. And this isn't just like circuit level design. This is actually where you put down silicon and metal. It's like IC design. You're actually designing a chip, and you're actually laying out the silicon tracks and the metal, interconnects that join them together, which is pretty awesome. I have not seen any other game that does that. Honestly, I've yet to see any game that actually has you doing like silicon level design of the layers in an IC. So that's why I really like this game. It's a really original concept. There are some problems with the game. I'll try to talk about those in a little bit, but let me go ahead and show you how you do a dual two-input AND gate. It should be pretty straightforward. One thing that's maybe a little bit unintuitive if you don't read the directions is, see these 5 buttons here? You can choose to lay down some silicon, some metal. You can add a via, which is the only way to connect metal to silicon. And this just selects, you can just drag over things. And this is to delete, by default it's to delete silicon. If you hold down Shift, the top and the bottom buttons change. The top button becomes a way to lay down P-type silicon. By default it's N-type silicon. And this button, if you hold down Shift, allows you to delete metal, whereas by default it only deletes silicon. So making an AND gate is pretty straightforward. I'll start with some N-type silicon, and I'll go ahead and just let's make a line like that. I'm kind of sloppy with this game, so my design style probably isn't the greatest, but oh well. So that's some N-type silicon there, which is obviously red in this game, and I'll put a couple of little layers, little strands of P-type silicon in there, which obviously shows up as yellow. So what this is supposed to be is now we have essentially an NPN gate, or an NPN transistor, I should say. The game calls it a gate, but it's obviously, NPN is a type of transistor, right? And so basically the concept is that electricity will flow through this bar of N-type silicon as long as high voltage is applied to both this and this bar of P-type silicon. In the real world, obviously, the transistor doesn't quite work exactly that way. This game is misapplying a little bit some of the concepts of electricity. It's really most of the game is about digital switching, which really would be done with MOSFETs rather than bipolar junction transistors such as these. But the game had to make some simplifications, obviously, since it is a game. Anyway, so let's go ahead and add some vias so we can connect metal to these parts. So ultimately what's going to happen is we have 4 blocks in the corners which are positive voltage. I'll go ahead and join this top via to this one. So now, voltage, like logical high, logical 1 is going to be flowing into this end of this strip of N silicon. And I'm going to go ahead and join this gate and that, I guess I should say base, since these are technically bipolar transistors and not MOSFETs, so these are the bases, not the gates of these BJTs. And then this forms the output. And I'll just draw another metal strip there, connecting that to the output pin there. So there we go. So that's it. That's really how you make an AND gate. It's pretty straightforward. And here under verification is where you can have it run a test on your circuit and see how well it performs. I think that should be fine, yeah. Obviously on this end, on the right hand side, it's not doing anything because I obviously didn't wire that up. But yeah, the left hand side is working perfectly. You might notice there's a little, it's hard to see, it probably will be hard to see on the video, but there's a little bit of offset here. Notice how what the circuit actually does is a little bit delayed from what it's supposed to do. That is because the game actually simulates some amount of gate delay, which is an interesting idea. What I don't like about how this game does that is in some later puzzles, you actually have to use that for things like creating timing, which is really bad. That's really a bad way to do it, honestly. I think if any engineer did that in real life, they would probably get talked to or fired, because you don't create delays, like timing delays, using just by exploiting gate delay. One of the problems with this game is that there's no way to create really passive components. I mean, in the real world, you'd probably use some kind of capacitor or something like that. You might create a relaxation oscillator with a capacitor or something like that. There's no way to do that in this game, which is a little bit, I don't know. It's a game, so what can I say? They obviously had to make some concessions to gameness. Now here we go. Let's try running the verification again. It should work out. Yep, it's working fine. So there you go. Notice also that there's no ground rail. You have these 4 positive voltage rails, and you might be wondering where's ground. There isn't one. Basically, the game assumes that anything, there's no such thing as a floating pin in this game. Anything that's not high is automatically just assumed to be at ground, which is not realistic, but oh well. Anyway, so this puzzle is not too hard. Yeah, quit to the main menu. Oops, that keeps popping up. Once you win, that keeps popping up every time you get to this menu. So the next puzzle after the third puzzle here is basically you create a multi-input AND gate, which isn't too hard, and then you have to create a multi-input OR gate. I didn't figure out any way to do that other than just creating a bunch of separate little NPN gates. But anyway, the fourth puzzle is where it gets kind of dicey, because honestly what you're supposed to do is just create a pulse. It's just a power on reset pulse, and I really honestly don't like the way the game does that, because again you just have to do what's delay. You basically just string a bunch of gates in a row, and that's how you create a delay, which is frankly a little stupid. That's not how you do it in real life, but oh well. So the first few puzzles, once you figure that out, it's still not too hard, and then later puzzles obviously get a lot harder. At one point you're actually going to build an 8-bit addressable static RAM, which is kind of cool. I mean, some of these are pretty awesome. Most of these are fairly logical. At least most of these are digital switching kind of applications, which would probably be done with transistors, although again, they would be done with MOSFETs and not bipolar transistors, but oh well, that's just, I guess that's just the engineer in me carping a little bit about details. Again, it is a game, and I have to admit that as a game, it does these things pretty well. So yeah, I don't have a lot of time to, obviously it would take a much longer discussion to show off all the different puzzles in the game, but you can see them here. You should play, if you're interested, you should play the game yourself and try it yourself. There's really not too much else to the game other than just laying down silicon and metal to achieve different types of circuits. So it's definitely the kind of game that it works well as a standalone puzzle game for a general audience, but I think that if you don't like electronics, you probably won't be interested in the game very much. Definitely if you're into electronics, absolutely if you like electronics, take a look at the game, because this is one of the best games I've seen for just applying silicon layout ideas. I've never seen any other game that does that. So I just wanted to highlight that and give a big thanks to Mr. Zach, who made this game along with other games. And again, check out his website because he has some excellent games along these lines. Most of them are not, this is actually one of his less accessible games. Most of them are a little bit more quote-unquote fun, a little bit easier to access for people who aren't already engineers. But most of them do have kind of a technical sort of bent to them, so take that as you will. Anyway, thanks for watching, folks, and I will see you later. Bye-bye for now.